At first glance, Kirby Air Riders may not seem like much, but trust me when I say that this upcoming game might just be the most important Nintendo release in years. I remember reactions to its reveal in the April Nintendo Direct basically boiled down to, yeah, that looks cool, but did you see the new Donkey Kong? But over time, as we got more trailers, directs, and just general information, the tone started to shift. It became clear that this is no ordinary game. It's a relic of Nintendo's old design philosophy, the one that I, and I'm sure plenty of you watching, fell in love with as kids, and one that, in the modern era, is largely absent. And that's why Kirby Air Riders isn't just the latest in a year filled to the brim with racing games. No, it's a chance for Nintendo to remember who they used to be. In the latest of two very lengthy Air Riders directs, Sakurai had a bit of a running gag. He'd discuss how a certain element of the game would be way too difficult to implement or just not worth the dev time. Then he'd follow it up by saying, "And so we did it anyway." And not only was this bit charmingly hilarious, but it also perfectly demonstrated the design philosophy of this game. The reason why the original Air Ride only took months to develop, but Air Riders has taken years, is because of this. The team is pouring in as much funding, content, and care as possible to make this game as good as it can be. And that simple phrase of, "and so we did it anyway," sums up everything Nintendo used to stand for. My favorite example of this in Air Riders is the new gummy mode. Sakurai showed us how after every race you win, you'll receive these little gummy versions of the machines. At first I was thinking that these had to have some form of in-game functionality, maybe as a second form of currency for the shops or something. But then we were shown that pretty much all you can do is just throw them around, play with them, stack them, whatever. There is essentially no point to this. And so naturally, I'm sure you're wondering, well then, why did they add this at all? Because it's fun. And that's true for every part of the game that's been shown off so far. It's packed with different modes, features, and customization options that no one asked for, but somehow we all needed. I saw someone online describe this as the most video game feeling video game they'd ever seen, and that is a perfect description. I could not have said it better myself. Every ounce of this game is manufactured to keep the player entertained, even when they get bored of the same basic races and want to go do something else. But the more I thought about how special Air Riders is, the more I realized why it stands out. Nintendo doesn't make games like this anymore. It's needless to say that the company has been the target of a lot of criticism lately, the general consensus being that they've charged more for less content in their latest games. I touched on this topic and a few of the issues surrounding it in my last video, but to summarize, gaming is becoming more expensive, and Nintendo's output has been received with a lot of cynicism since the reveal of the Switch 2. And while I do personally find enough value in these products to warrant the hefty price tags, it's not hard to look back and compare the amount of content in these new packages with what came before. So let me give you a personal example. When I was a kid back in 2010, I had a DS and only a handful of games for it. My favorite of the limited selection I had was Mario 64. I'd boot up the game on road trips and play the campaign for a little bit, but inevitably get bored as any 5-year-old with a short attention span would. But gaming back then wasn't exactly like it is now. I couldn't just exit to the home menu and then hop into Animal Crossing. My options basically boiled down to Mario 64 DS or Alvin and the Chipmunks The Squeakquel the video game. But I didn't have to worry, because as any 2000s kid would know, if you ever got bored of Mario 64, you could always just go play poker with Luigi. 64 DS came with a ton of extra minigames and special features as a bonus. Not to mention that cool little drawing app where you could mess around with Mario or Yoshi's faces. These were completely unnecessary additions that just made the game that much more special. I mean, you have to consider that this content is on top of all the new stars, worlds, and playable characters that they added to the base game. And to think that they put all of that into this tiny little cartridge that's older than me. Now compare that to the most recent Mario game, where you can also do all sorts of things. You can race. Well, no, actually, that's everything that's listed here. And that's what I miss most, when Nintendo would add content simply because they could. That small-scale creativity just for the sake of it is exactly what Air Riders is bringing back to the company. I chose Mario 64, but you can really make that comparison for any of the games in that era and the current one. Wii Sports versus Switch Sports, old Mario Party versus modern Mario Party, take your pick. But when it comes to Kirby, sure he's released a few rough games here and there, but I've never felt like they cheaped out on content. The same goes for the Super Smash Bros. Series, which consistently adds more content with each entry, and are you starting to see a pattern here? A lot of YouTubers will tell you that Nintendo has simply become lazy in the modern day, but honestly, I don't think that's a very good word for it. Looking at the state of the company now, I'd instead choose the word efficient. Before the Switch era, Nintendo was run by gamers for gamers. Iwata and Reggie had a real passion for gaming culture and a huge amount of respect for their fans. But when you take a look at their successors, it becomes obvious that the corporate company is no longer run by gamers. It's instead a group of individuals with backgrounds in business and finance, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But because Nintendo had built up this very personality-driven, pro-consumer reputation, fans were shocked when that sort of withered away over time. I mean, there's a reason why you don't see this type of outcry for Sony or Microsoft, at least on the same scale. Us gamers expect them to screw us over. Nintendo games now are exactly what they promise and nothing more. That doesn't necessarily make them bad, far from it in fact, but they sort of lack that magic and heart of the old Nintendo. And I think that that's why they've been receiving so much backlash lately. But the story's not over here. Beyond just the promising game design of Kirby Air Riders, some new developments in the company have caused me to feel incredibly optimistic going forward. Sakurai has been very open about the development of Kirby Air Riders. The story goes that Nintendo asked him to direct a game and they would fund and publish it. It really didn't matter what it was, anything the guy wanted to make was fair game. So Sakurai, remembering the rush deadline of the original Air Ride, realized that there was so much more he could do with that concept. And soon after, he put together a pitch which Nintendo approved. Now, obviously Sakurai has made a big name for himself, and something like this likely wouldn't happen for just any game director. But I ask you to really think about this creator-first mindset that Nintendo employed for the project. If this pays off financially like it seems it will, they may apply the same method to other creatives in the industry. Taking risks like this can be how the company reclaims what they lost, that sense of passion and wonder that so many critics say is absent in recent titles. It's on full display here in Air Riders, and I know that it could be for future projects too. On top of that, Nintendo of America recently announced their appointments for president and CEO, as Doug Bowser is set to resign from both positions at the end of the year. He'll be succeeded by new president Devin Pritchard and new CEO Satoru Shibata. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced either of those names. I promise I'm trying here, you guys. And while this is just the American branch, these positions hold a lot of power in the decisions that are made company-wide. And while information is limited on these two outside of their resumes, you can take a look at Shibata's cosplay or Pritchard taking headshots with a Bulborb, and it becomes apparent that these two are gamers. The direction Nintendo is taking with Kirby Air Riders should be exciting for all fans of the company. Even if you're not especially into Kirby, there's something in this game for everyone. And when it releases on the 20th of this month, it might just remind us and Nintendo of why we fell in love with gaming in the first place. Thank you all so much for watching, and I know it's late, but thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. That number is still mind-blowing to me. And as always, please remember, believe to achieve.